Voices from the Mausoleum is brought to you by the You Run Podcast Network and yourunpodcast.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. Welcome to an episode of Found Footage Fridays.
Hello, happy Friday.
God, I'm so glad it's Friday. It's been the longest week of my life.
A week, I know. Sheesh. And now we're doing these late night recordings too. We're like,
yeah. Little zombies. It's appropriate Zombie Awareness Month for those of you that
Zombie
know.
Month. Not related to the movie that we're covering today, but zombies are cool.
Although now I feel like we should cover Diary of the Dead before the end of the month. I didn't even think about that. There's a zombie found footage movie.
Oh, actually, I've seen it. I did a whole marathon, like a Romero marathon, like a year or two ago.
I just watched it again, but I don't remember the reason. Like, I feel like I just forgot about it, and I was like, oh, yeah, let me rewatch it. I don't know. One of those random things, right?
And the timeline is so weird with those movies because it's a modern movie, but I read it's supposed to take place close to the first movie, but I'm like, but it's modern. I don't know. It's just they just constantly, it's like soap opera logic when it comes to aging.
Yeah.
They when they age the kids like 10 years, but it's
out of nowhere. Yes. No, for sure. Yeah, so we're back with another Found Footage Friday episode. This is not a newer found footage. So we're backtracking a little bit and doing something a little bit older. So today we're going to be talking about the 2012 found footage movie, The Devil Inside. Apparently not a super popular one. I rebuke that. I refuse to acknowledge that. But
so I've heard
the feedback I got when I posted about this, like whenever, like last week or whenever it was I was ready to throat punch some people. If you're not familiar, the short synopsis: in Italy, a woman becomes involved in a series of unauthorized exorcisms during her mission to discover what happened to her mother, who allegedly murdered 3 people during her own exorcism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing this movie getting a lot of flack, and admittedly, I had not seen it.
Yeah,
ever. This was the
first watch. This was your first watch,
and I found myself actually enjoying, I think, most of this movie. I think the only problem I had with it might have been the ending. I wanted just a little bit more. Just clarity at the end there, you could tell like they probably were hoping for a franchise, or there was like a website came up at the end of the movie where it's like visit the Rossi Files
to talk about
so like clearly they were hoping for more. I mean, should if the ending had been a little bit more concise, I would have been perfect. I would have been happy. But the concept, I actually really thought the concept was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this one. I didn't mind the ending at all. I liked, I feel like it's pretty typical for found footage movies, and it's really typical for possession films to leave this open-ended, who knows if there's a resolution kind of like thing, right? And so it's very typical for those two things. And so it's the ending I didn't have a problem with, but I think that the main things that I like about this is I think the performances are stellar. Mm-hmm. There are some moments in this that are really, really creepy, really bothered me, really got under my skin. I love the setup for this, the opening shots. I love the fact that once again, we don't have this over the top, silly sounding vulgarity that we get in other, possession movies. So I thought it was written very, very well in that regard. And it did kind of have like a little bit more lore than I think we get sometimes with these types of films too, because possession films a lot of times are very, very mass produced. They're very the same formula over and over and over and over again.
Very basic.
And this conceptually is very different from most possession films in that way. And I really loved that about it. So yeah, this was a huge, I love this one. I'm always on the wrong end of these things though. Always. Like I'm always the one that hates movies that everyone else loves. And I always love movies that nobody else wants to really love. And I'm just used to it. That's my lot in life.
It's just swim against the current. That's okay.
I'm a rebel. No, At this point, I'm just doing it out of spite. No, I'm just kidding. No, I really did love this one. I also will say, and I don't know, this probably plays into some of the reason I like it so much. Going to watch or seeing this was actually what really got me back into like really diving into like found footage again, because I mean I did the Paranormal Activity movie, but this came out in 2012 and it was just very kind of reignited that love of both, because I also really love possession films, which is why I get so frustrated when they're so cookie cutter.
Yeah.
It's two things for me, two big checks, and I think that it being something that brought me back into the subgenre, I think is probably another reason I just how high, I hold it in very high regard.
Sure, sure. It holds a special place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like a time thing. Like, I don't know. Like
Just found you at the right time.
yeah, exactly. So I really, really like this one though.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're not going into the spoilers just yet, but I do like the sort of trio, I guess quartet, because the guy was I'm not really
The,
counting the cameraman,
the
but I guess
camera guy. Yeah.
the four of them. I was thinking,
Yeah.
Isabella and then the two priests that she's dealing with. I sort of like the two priests in their deal, um, and then sort of her. Agency in the film too is really interesting, and she's sort of a one woman investigation at the beginning of it, and then really
Yeah.
taking it off on her own, and the setup is just really cool.
Yeah. And I mean it's very it's not quite like official mockumentary, but essentially she's documenting this experience and trying to capture what she learns and what happens and when she
Yeah,
and all these things, and
it's
I
labeled
like
as a documentary in the movie, though. It was like I remember the opening
yeah.
thing was like the Vatican does not approve of this documentary.
Yeah, and I guess it's just not like it's not to the level of like Lake Mungo though, where you meet like 15 people, and
Mhm.
it's not quite at that level. But yeah, it's her yeah, it's a documentary for her and just going through the journey. And I really liked that setup because I think that, you know, I think the documentary or mockumentary side of it, it doesn't always it does well, I don't know. Have I seen one that didn't work on me? The Tunnel. I didn't think The Tunnel was great. But other than that, like for the most part, these formulas work really well because they give you an automatic, well, this is why we're filming, so
Mhm.
it kind of has that whole like you don't have to just be like, oh, I just randomly bought a new camera and now this is my personality. Like you don't have to like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah,
it gives you a little bit more I think like foundation to be like, okay, this makes sense.
right. Yeah, it's a little easy to say the camera is the reason for the camera, whereas
Sure.
then the events
Yeah,
are the reason for the camera.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, that's got that going for it. What do you rate this?
Uh, I'm between like a 6.5, 7.
Mhm.
I think I'm gonna give it a 7. I'm gonna be nice. Because I think I enjoy enough of this movie to not
Yeah.
put it on the lower half.
Okay.
Yeah, because I really did enjoy the characters, like you said. I think the performances are really good.
The
The reason why it
mom.
doesn't reach 8, 9, 10 for me because I don't think it's really genre defining or genre changing. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I disagree. Um, no, I think this is an easy 8.5 for me.
Oh wow.
I'm telling you, I've seen so many possession films. And for one to still get under my skin, for to one to kind of hit me emotionally, there's a few moments in this that are just like very sad.
Yeah.
I also don't have the best happy go Disney. Well, Disney kills all their moms, so that's not a good example. I don't have the happy go whatever childhood with my biological mother, so that probably is another reason that this just resonated with me.
Sure. Yeah.
Which I don't think I thought about until literally just now. But yeah, this is an 8.5 out of 10 for me. I love this movie, and I've rewatched it numerous times, and on every rewatch, I walk away feeling the exact same way. Um, And I love the journey of Bella, and I loved, like you said, the dynamic of the characters that work together. I love what those characters are doing. I think that
Mhm.
their particular, which I think you said too, their their specific situation is really cool, and I like
Yeah,
that too.
that's unique,
Um,
I think.
yeah, and I think that there's a lot of like just really unique things in this, and I just get tired of seeing the priest that don't know if he believes anymore, or like it's always a kid, and they always sound like a kid, like they were given permission to say the F word, and so then they just say a bunch of crazy things that make no sense and aren't scary, and we go through this whole thing and they say things and they hurt other people, and then we come out on top and hoorah, or whatever. So I liked that this really was not like that at all. I don't think this followed a formula for possession films pretty much on any level, and I really like that about it.
No,
So
no. No, it definitely sets itself apart.
yeah. Yeah.
Alright. Should we head
Um
into some spoiler talk?
yeah, probably. I don't know what else I could say honestly without spoiling. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's hop on it.
yeah.
Spoilers, spoilers. Need like an animation, a whole thing.
It'd be really funny if it was like the I'm so tired. The what's his name? From Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah.
If you could do like your face on like a cutout on the thing and it just comes up and it's, I don't know. That's where my head went. Anyway, I'm done.
The serious version of that, I was thinking we can get like the purge siren.
Oh my
Like,
God.
spoilers.
All kind of fun.
That sound always puts me on edge.
You are not kidding. It worked in Silent Hill. It works in The Purge. You are so right. That sound gives me so much anxiety.
Yeah, yeah. That horn, that particular horn is oof.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
I know the first time I ever heard like an actual, because we don't really get tornadoes here where I live. The first time I ever heard a tornado siren, I was like, am I gonna walk outside and it's like Pyramid Head on my street? Like, what is that
like it's going down.
I know it's meant to warn you, but damn, it's scary.
It is scary. I know.
Yeah, so I don't think for this we probably don't have to go like step for step, but just a couple of my favorite moments that I feel like really defined it. That
Mhm.
scene in the beginning or towards the beginning when she meets her mom for the first, or not meets her, but sees her for the first time she is.
Oh, she sees her through the window. Yeah, yeah.
No, look, I'm not even joking. I have goosebumps. Like that woman creeps me out. She is so creepy. And then when she does
Mm-hmm.
to reveal the upside down, I mean, she
Oh yeah.
screams at the top of her lungs. That
Mm.
was so scary to me.
That scene, yeah, the scene where she's like interacting with her, right? And just shows her,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. She
yeah, it's
gets to
really
go
intense.
in, right? And she's like in the chair for a minute.
Yeah,
And then she's like she's like doing her hair and talking about all these things. And the daughter's like, what the hell? Anyway, yeah, that part.
yeah. She gives her the picture, but doesn't realize she's giving a picture of herself too. I thought there was a
Right.
lot of like good emotional moments in that. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's it. That was so good. And again, I love that she was just like, something's up, but it wasn't like a lot of the other stuff we see where they're just like
No,
saying a bunch of crazy things. She does bring up the baby, I think. I think she brings that up the first time they meet. She brings up
the abortion.
the abortion.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so I don't know. I just there's that okay, that is a very cliche. They always have abortions in damn possession movies. Like that's some big, oh no, who cares? Like they always treat it like it's this big, and I know it is to them, but no, we don't care. Like you're fine. Like, you did what you had to do. But anyway, but yeah, that part was, I really love that. And that to me really set me on edge for or set me up rather for the rest of the scenes that were coming with the mom. Cause there's,
yeah,
a lot of things that happen after that. But, that just kind of was like the first moment of the film. Cause I remember thinking it was kind of like, it starts out pretty cool. You're like, oh shit. Like they're finding like the weapons and the dead bodies. You're like, oh dang, that's
yeah.
definitely a nun. What the hell, And then, but then it kind of takes a little bit to get to like the next thing. And I remember thinking that. I remember being like, okay, come on, let's fast forward, let's get this over. But then that scene happened, and I was like, okay, I'm in. It was good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because it's like, you get this big, nice opening, and then you have to sort of set up, because you got to age up the kid and sort of meet her where she's at, and this
100%.
journey
Yeah.
that she's on, and really figure out like what's been going on with her since all of that went down with her mom.
Right. No, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah,
The
once you kind of
setup
get that,
matters. I remember thinking
yeah, yeah.
originally, like, let's go,
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. Yeah, no, with pacing, right? It's like found footage, right? You never know sometimes with pacing. It can
Oh
be like,
my God, so
"Whoa."
true. Yeah, so true.
I really liked, yeah, I mean, going back to the priest that she meets up with, I like that the class that she goes to is pretty diverse between like believers, non-believers, men, women. Thought that
Yep.
was interesting because you're
Yep.
getting different perspectives.
I'm
They're
glad
all
you went back to that. Yes, I didn't even. I immediately started with like my scariest moment or one of my scariest moments. But yeah, I'm glad you went back to that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
like this classroom setup, and then it's not like your typical like they're getting everyone ready to like be an exorcist. Sometimes it's just general knowledge, and which is interesting, right? Because we never really associate the Vatican with like open knowledge information.
Heck no. Heck no, we
So
don't.
I don't know if the class
No,
like does it really exist. I don't know.
I have
But
no
cool to
idea.
see. And then they're having a drink and they're sort of debating possession and exorcisms. And but
Mhm.
yeah, these two priests that she meets up with, they're sort of these like underground exorcists,
I love it.
which is so cool.
I love it so much.
They're
It's
picking
like,
up all the cases that the Vatican just sort of abandoned. You know, so they're
yeah,
sort of
and
like
that's
justice warriors in that sense.
I no, I love that though because again, the priest we always get some old one that's been doing it for a million years, and then the young one that don't know if he wants to be one or doesn't know if he believes or whatever. It's always some same like so. I felt like this dynamic was really fun, and you
Mhm.
could tell. I feel like the two guys played into each other very well because they were very different personality wise. They did this together, but they
Yeah.
were very different characters, and that made it, it just made it more engaging to me.
Yeah, their goals were the same, but the way they went
Right.
about it or the way they felt and interacted were very different,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
Which then sort of leads us to like this really big schism when one of them is possessed, right? We get spirit hopping.
That scene, I have goosebumps again. This movie scared me. I don't know
The
why what
baptism?
it is. Huh?
Baptism or the
So, well, yeah, yeah, that part's awful.
yeah.
He tries to drown the baby,
Yeah, yeah.
but when his eyes change and
Oh yeah.
he says he's sorry, and then he shoots himself,
Ooh, yeah, that was good.
my heart like, oh, that
Yeah,
scene
yeah.
was so intense. So intense.
No, it was a good standoff. It was very yeah, and then there's a lot of sort of as the tensions build, right? Between like
Yeah.
the cameraman and then the
Oh,
one priest
always.
always, right?
Damn
He's like done with it
cameraman.
all.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
works here, I think, right? Because he's a non-believer,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So I think rather than not, so rather than putting that stereotypically within the priest dynamic, it's
We
sort of
get
an
it as a
outside.
cameraman.
You get in the cameraman. That way you kind of let them kind of duke it
There
out. The
has to
priest
be
duke
at
it out.
least one. There has to be a non-believer to argue, basically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that is a pretty standard thing
I
in
mean, you got
here.
me watching Evil. It's in there.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, but I think like, well, to be fair, they approach non-belief in a very different way. But you're right though. It almost has to be because there has to be a balance of the two things to argue about, or it's going to be a very short movie. You know what I mean? Like there has to be some kind of push and pull. But when they take her to that house or whatever it is, and they go into the basement and they've got that girl curled
Yeah.
up on the bed, Seven, you're crazy. This is this movie is so good and it's so scary. When they pull the covers off of her and she's just curled up like a snake on the bed, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
hell no."
That's it was pretty good. Well, you're gonna make me change my number, but I'm gonna stick to it for now. But on second watch, we'll see if my number goes up.
Okay. Because I think one of the things that I love so much about this is the fact that I felt like there really were a bunch of like genuinely like crazy moments. But that girl curled up on the bed and she's like, and then she like pops back out of place and just eases like it's nothing.
The contortion work was good. You're right.
God.
Yeah.
I hate that stuff. They do so good. They do it because it's effective. Like that bone snapping sound and the body cracking, and that hits us because we're like, her bodies would make that sound. You know what I mean? Like it just hits different.
And the room was small too, which I think led to a very like claustrophobic feeling in that scene.
Because you feel trapped with her.
You do feel trapped in that room.
You do. No, you're 100% right. And then when she starts like, that part was so like, I wouldn't have gone down in that basement. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I just got in some other place. Like I'm in Italy for the first time, and like I just met these two men, and I'm like, I'm not going to no basement.
You're going to no basement with these two men. Yeah.
Yeah. How about y'all call me tomorrow around this time, and y'all let me know what happened. I'm not coming down there. But I realized obviously we needed to see it, because she needed to see it to know that they weren't full of shit. So I get all of that. So I thought all of that was really, really good. I do think when they go to do the exorcism on the mom in the hospital, I didn't feel like that scene was as powerful maybe as it should have been, which is one of the reasons it didn't get like higher marks for me. Because you feel, you spend the whole movie getting used to this concept that Isabella's trying to learn about her mom. So you're expecting the mom to be a bigger part, and it takes a little while to get back to the mom. And then when they have her on the table and they're doing all these things and they're getting thrown and all these things are happening, I just felt like that felt a little underwhelming a little bit. Like there was just something missing from that scene for me, when all the other stuff like around it was so solid. But that particular scene in general, I just wasn't blown away with.
Because I don't feel like there was really much of an emotional catharsis with.
Sure, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? It didn't feel like there was this. Because she didn't feel there was no anger towards the mom. I don't remember there being any. Like, you really just, there wasn't any, even if she knew it wasn't her mom's fault, like you're still going to feel some sort of abandonment, some sort of anger,
all kinds of things. Yeah,
right?
No, for sure.
And it didn't feel like there was any sort of emotional confrontation.
No. I think you're right. I think and I think because they did such a good job of giving you that in that initial meeting when she screams at her, I was expecting that again, and I didn't feel the tension or the like you said, like the emotions, and I think it just made that scene underwhelming. Because I'm feeling like, okay, I'm just like when that scene is over, you're just like, all right, anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're just kind of like ready to go on to the next part of the story. You're not left thinking about that scene. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's really just sort of a way to get to the next part, which is
section of the story.
The spirit hopping.
Yeah, which I liked. I don't think that they just that's discussed in other possession films, obviously, even a main one. But I think that I kind of liked the way they did this one, in just the way that they talk about it when they're like figure out what's going on. I really liked that. Because they almost approach it, especially not the guy that shoots himself, but the other guy. I don't know their names. I'm not good at that.
Was one of them named
David?
Huh?
What are their names? Do you know their names?
Is it so? We have Father Ben Rawlings, which I think is the one that's not possessed. Who's the one that is? Yeah, I think the one that's not possessed is Father Rawlings.
Which is Ben.
Ben, yeah.
Okay, so like when Ben talks about these things, it's almost like. It's not that he doesn't take them serious. I don't mean it like that, but he has this very like schoolboy excitement about it where he's like, like he said, like when he says it, he's like, oh my God, like we've never experienced this before. Like he's like weirdly excited about it, you know, like, and I think that that's kind of very, I would say, I don't know specifically about exorcists, but in general, when you work in fields like that, like in the paranormal world, if you're a ghost hunter or if you work in the paranormal fields, you get excited about new phenomena because even if it's dangerous or scary, it's something that you haven't experienced before, you don't know much about, and so you're trying to learn about it.
I'll give you a probably a direct example or like a really interesting comparison is Jurassic Park. A paleontologist who studies dinosaurs, who gets to see dinosaurs in real life.
In real life, yes.
Yeah. So it's sort of like that, right?
But no, but to your point though, it's like it's not always a it's not something exciting, right? Like learning a new editing technique on a video. It's not like a safe excitement. It's like there's danger or scary,
Yeah.
bad, kind of tied into it. So I liked that. But yeah, I mean, after that, it's not too much longer after that. That's right after that's when all the stuff happens with the what I don't know, is the other guy.
I'm like, I can't, because he's blonde,
I want
right?
to say David, but then I'm like, am I just thinking that because it's a religious name?
Oh, there is Father David Keene. Is that the guy? I think it
I
is him.
think
You're right. It is
David.
David. It is David.
David.
David and
Y'all, I deserve a cookie,
that
and
was
everybody
good.
knows I don't do names. I never remember their names. I kept thinking David, but I was like, I don't know if that's right. I hate to say it and then learn later that I was wrong. But yeah, so then that's when all the stuff happens with David, where he tries to drown the baby at the baptism. He comes home and like all that stuff goes out, or all that stuff happens at the house, and he shoots
Mhm.
himself, which then of course means now it has to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And the oppression in general, even though it's hopping, is already affecting everyone else, because even before he kills himself, Isabella's acting different. We start to see that's when a little bit of the aggression of the cameraman comes out. Like
Mhm.
you can just feel the environment around them changing, and it's affecting their normal interactions with each other.
Yeah. Which is great because I think it's, you've already established tensions that have existed or doubt or like
Yeah, for sure.
disagreements. And so you're ramping up the tension that already exists rather than just
Yeah.
creating drama out of nowhere.
Right. No, and it falls in line with the story, so it feels more believable and more real, to your
Mhm.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then of course Isabella starts acting crazy.
Yeah. Right. And so, yeah, they're getting in the car. It's chaotic. That's sort of, yeah. And that's sort of where I fell off, where I was like, because then you get that cliffhanger. And I'm like, okay.
Oh
I
yeah,
need
after the
resolution.
hospital, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Because she
it's
goes to the
twisted.
hospital first.
Hmm?
She's in
Oh,
the
yeah, they go to
hospital
the
first.
hospital. That's right. The
Yeah.
hospital, and then they take her.
And then they take her because they know that the hospital can't help because she's possessed.
Hmm. The hospital was tense, right? Because the camera was low to the ground for most of it, right? There was a lot of them on the floor,
Yes. It
right?
was
And that's
I feel, given the amount of times I have seen possession movies that make women bleed like that in circumstances, I was like, yeah, this one was effective, I feel like, and just like the oh no, like
hmm
dread and anxiety and all of those things. You're just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Yeah, because they take her out of the hospital. The hospital like wants to help her, but there's nothing they can do for her because she's got a demon. And so and then yeah, so then they take her and they put her in the car, and then that's when they have the car accident, and that's the end of the film.
I would have so the ending that I would have put on like just tacked on was
Mhm.
if she like woke up in like the Vatican hospital, maybe next to her mother or something. Because it feels like, the whole idea of like the Vatican took the mom and for
Right.
compensation because
Sure. I see what
they
you're
they
saying.
put her in the hospital. I feel like if she ended up, I just wanted to see sort of a more of a finality rather than her just sort of. It was very because this came out around Paranormal Activity. I feel like they almost took a page from like the Katie and the baby are missing. Let us know if you spot them kind of thing.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that the strength of the storyline, it kind of, as far as the mother stuff goes, it really is just strong as a startup concept, but there isn't a lot of follow through on that. Because, like I said, the
Yeah.
scene where they're trying to do the exorcism is very, like I said, very lackluster, and then it's just kind of that's it. Like, and then
Mhm.
it's just about them and dealing with the demon. So, to your point, there's no finality between the start of the story being about the mom and then the ending with the mom. So, yeah, I do think the ending is not its strongest. I just didn't personally mind that it was left so open-ended because
Sure.
I think some of that again is just because I just liked so many other things about it that I
Yeah.
just gave it a pass. I was just like, well, like if the other parts hadn't been as strong, the ending probably genuinely would have pissed me off. But because I felt like I got so much out of other parts, I didn't feel left like what's the word? Like left unfulfilled or unsatisfied by the
Sure.
experience as a
Don't
whole.
feel bad. I give plenty of shitty movies a pass just because I like one thing about it or not.
Usually the male lead.
You know, and this isn't a shitty movie by any means. So don't
No, I
take
know what
that
you're
as a
saying,
dig.
but that's because like we all have just different things that we want out of
Yeah.
the experience. And once that box has been, it's like when Tom and I did Dinosaur Project, he was so miserable. He hated that movie. And I was like, I give this a 10 out of 10. Like I would watch this 100. It's dinosaurs, not for any other reason
It's
other
just
than it's
dinosaurs. It's fun. Yeah.
dinosaurs. Dinosaur found footage, give me. I don't care how bad
Yeah.
it is. I'm watching it. Like
But like yeah, but the thing is, yeah, I don't think this movie deserves sort of the hate that it gets. Like, let
I
me look
don't
at
think so either. I don't understand the logic. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of like an overgeneralization of a reason people
yeah.
maybe didn't like it. And I do know the ending is a sore spot for a lot of people, but
Like it has a 6 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's really low.
yeah.
Like that's like you've
And it
never
has a
watched a movie in
4.
your life
Doesn't
low.
it have like a 4 on IMDb?
On IMDb, maybe. I mean, 6 is low because it's out of 100. IMDb is out of 10, right?
Out of 10.
Um, Devil Inside.
Because I feel like I looked at that and I thought it was
It's got a
really
4.2 on IMDb.
yeah.
No,
So that's
I think
absurd.
that's too low because I think the performances are good enough. I think again the quartet, the trio, the four of them. I think that's a great dynamic.
Yeah, the quad,
Concept
the
is
core
good.
4
Core 4 are great.
that
I
keeps
mean the
coming up.
concept is good. You know, yeah, I think this maybe I don't know. I think people will sometimes look for movies to crap on, and this just ended up being one of them.
Well, that's gonna wrap up this week's episode of Found Footage Fridays. We will be back next week talking. What's the one we're doing next week?
We're either doing The Medium or Fourth Kind.
Let's get the medium out of the way.
I think The Medium, yeah.
We'll do The Medium next week. So we'll be back next week talking The Medium. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on this episode of Found Footage Fridays. We hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your week coming up, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.